Okay, yay, we are on. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I try to be here right at 7. I just had some issues, so we're going to move forward. Welcome to our July Zoom New Horizons training for any pups that you might have. And if you're here and don't have a pup, but you had one or are going to get one, welcome. I kind of have to do a couple things at a time just to make sure everybody is on. So I'm going to start with some basics because I think we have some new people, possibly. So a couple of basics I will start with. First of all, your puppy raising manual. If you did not get one or do not have one in your possession, you need to call Kate or Ellen at the office and ask them for a puppy raiser manual. Very important to have. Has all of the basics in it. I know it's being redone, but at this point, they will give you what they have, and everybody should have one. So if you're sitting there and you're like, "Ooh, I didn't get one of those," please make sure that you get one. Whether you have a breeder or you're raising a prison dog or you have a puppy, you need a puppy manual, okay? Has lots of good information in it. It is being revised, and hopefully that revision will be sent out soon. But for the meantime, take what you can get. So one of the most important things is that you're focusing on the commands. All of us should be working on the basics. And if we have prison dogs, then you know some of the advanced commands that you could be working on. If you feel comfortable with those. So if you're going through your manual and you see commands like closer or snuggle, or let's see, what are some of the others? Or even the retrieve commands. If you feel comfortable doing those, I would go ahead, especially with those prison pups, because they should know them. If you are new and don't know what a prison pup is, it's just a dog that has been with a raiser, and then normally is with a raiser, and then they've gone on and they're with they've gone into prison and been trained by an inmate, and then now they're back out with a raiser. So the list of commands is, I'm looking through just real quickly. There are a lot of basics, from the dog's name, come, let's go, sit, busy, wait, settle, tug, hold, make a friend, watch me, kennel, down. That's just the first page that I'm looking at. Though all of those our older dogs should know for sure. And those are commands we should be working on with our puppies. So if you just brought an 8-week-old puppy home, first couple things you're going to work on is their name, and start with sit and start with wait, having them wait for their food. That's a pretty basic one. I think that I posted a video of Wasabi starting from 8 weeks when I got him home, right up until, let's see, 8 weeks is 2 months. So maybe it took me a month or a month and a half for Laura and I to get him where he was actually sitting. But at first he was like wanting to get to his food. And so wait is pretty basic, but it does take some time. It's going to, not if you have an older dog. If you have a puppy, yes, it's patience and doing it every single time that you feed them or that you walk out the door. We want to make sure that they have that wait, because we use it in the car. We use it when going out the door, it going through doors in a store, going into an elevator. There's lots of places that these dogs are going to use the command wait. So we want to make sure that's one we start right off, especially at puppies. I'm sure that your older dogs know it. They should, they're prison dogs. But that's something you want to make sure that they know. Some of the other basics are I would be constantly checking your dog's recall, making sure they'll come to you when called. We've talked a lot about, some of you have said, oh, when I'm out in the backyard, they won't come to me. And they're not going to. That's like playtime for them. And so you want to figure out how you can get them to come to you, whether it's saying come and then maybe shaking a jar. I know sometimes my dogs will come for ice if they know I have ice in a cup. And so I'll be like, Hess, come, and I'll shake the cup of ice. And he's like, oh, and at least gets his attention. And then he will come to me. But so you don't want to call your dog. You don't want to ask them to come when they're in the backyard, but you know full well they're not going to. You want to make sure that the dog is going to come to you. So if it's that you need a treat, or you need a squeaky toy, or you need a glass of ice, or whatever it takes for them to come when you call them. So recall is super important. We want that dog to almost turn on a dime when you call their name. And the backyard is not necessarily the place to practice it, only unless you have them maybe on the lead, and you're gonna, once you call their name, then you like pull them toward you. And it really depends on the dog. Most of our dogs learn very quickly, but you want to be sure that when you're calling their name and when you're calling come, let's see, Hess, come. Oh, it's not even Hess, is it? Oh, no, it's not. It's Quinn. Good girl. She came. Good girl. Yes. You just want to make sure that when you say that word to them, they're coming. They know it. They know what it means, and they're not ignoring you. And if you're going to do it out in the backyard with them free, you want to make sure that you have their attention and that they're going to do it. Some of our dogs like to look at us and go, this is free time for me, or this is playtime. So you have to figure out what is going to work for your dog. Like what's going to make them successful in regards to that recall, because recall sometimes can save their life. If you have anybody have any questions about recall, anybody have any like major issues with it, you noticing your dog doesn't ever come when you call it?
I'm glad you said that I shouldn't totally expect it in the backyard, because yeah. Colin's like, I got a ball, so you can go away.
Yeah. So you want to set them up for success. So if you know when you get out in the yard and you play with them for a little bit, and maybe the first time you call them, they're not going to come, you want to have something that's going to entice them to come to you, to make them successful, so that you can be like, yay, you can't, it's a big deal. Because you don't want to be like, Sally, come, Sally. You don't want to have to say it 50 times. You want to be able to call them once and have them come to you. And then if you need to reward them, whether it's with a ball or a toy or whatever works for your dog. So Hess doesn't like to come in when we're playing ball.
Right.
If we're outside playing ball, he kind of looks at me like, I'm not really ready. So sometimes I will give him, I will not call him in, and I will give him a few minutes. And then when I'm really ready to go in, I either use the ball for enticement, or I make sure I have a treat or something that I know he's going to come in with. And then I'll be like, okay, Hess, come. And then he's like, oh, okay. And he'll come. But I know that my dog well enough that when I get out into the yard, he needs time to play. So if you're going to take them out to play, make sure you're giving them enough time, not just the 2 seconds that you have, but they're a dog. They need playtime. We were at a presentation today for the Halifax Humane Society, and one of the little boys asked us, do they ever get to play? That was such a great question. And I'm like, yes, they're dogs. Of course they get to play. So I thought that was great that he was thinking about that, because these 5 dogs that we had there today were acting perfectly. They were on the floor, they were laying down, they were behaving, and they had almost 30 kids sitting in front of them. And so they were doing very well, but that was a good question. So we want to make sure that our dogs are getting plenty of playtime, whether it's inside and you're playing tug, or you're, I have a long, not a hallway, but a long from my living room to my front door. And so sometimes if it's raining out or whatever, I will just throw the ball in the house. Sometimes it's just a matter of me playing catch with them. I'll throw the ball, Hess catches it, Wasabi tries, not so successful yet. And then they'll bring it to me, and then we play again. And that seems to make them happy. So figure out what is playtime for your dog. And it may just be, if you can give them, I know some of you are working from home, you can give them 5 minutes in the house, give it to them. If it's just a tug, just something to kind of get their energy out. Watch me. So watch me is extremely important for our puppies. Well, all of our dogs, not just, when I say puppies, I mean all dogs. To me, that's all dogs. So we want to make sure that watch me their attention is on us. So one of the things that I do with Hess, or well, both of them, but Wasabi, because he's a real puppy. He will sit for his dinner and wait, and then I will say, Wasabi, watch me. And as soon as he looks up, it's hard for him. He's not quite there yet. He's still like, food, you know, and he'll go back and forth. But if as soon as he looks at me, I'm like, yes, good, watch me. And then I release him to eat. But I want him to understand that he's got to have his eyes on me. So when you're walking with your dog, anytime you can say, so-and-so, watch me, get them to look at you, and then make sure you're rewarding them and just praising them. Yes, good, watch me, because it's super important that their eyes are on you, that they know where you are, they can see you from any vantage point, obviously, unless you're out of the room. But the goal is to get them to, hey, come here. Oh, you're good. Sorry. I'm sorry. He has something that it looked like a frog. It's not, it's a stick that he's trying to now keep from Wasabi. Okay. So watch me, it is real important. Everybody should be crating their dog. Everybody. Now, if you have an older dog, a dog that's been in prison, and you feel pretty comfortable that they're well behaved, with Hess, I do one night in and one night out. I want him to have the freedom to behave. And so he'll have one night out of the crate and one night in the crate. If you know you can't trust your dog out of the crate, don't let them out. We want them safe. So if you know that your dog eats socks or eats things that they shouldn't eat, either make sure all those things are up and away, or that your dog's in a safe area, or just crate them. You know your dog, but the goal is never to not crate them. The goal is always to have them be used to the crate. So if you can crate them for a few minutes during the day, if you can, when you get up in the morning, instead of that being the first thing you do, let them stay in the crate for a few minutes. We just want them to be comfortable in their crate. Even our older dogs, even our dogs who are almost getting ready to be placed, we never, because we don't have that choice. That choice comes when they get placed with their person. Once they're placed with their person and they are somebody's dog, then that person can choose if they don't want to crate them or not. That is not our choice. So I do try to give the older dogs an opportunity to have a night out and then have a night in, so they never get used to not being in the crate. But it's what your comfort level is. So you have to decide, do I feel comfortable with this dog out during the night while I'm sleeping? Is that okay for him? Or if not, just it's okay to continue to crate them. I just find that it gives them a little bit of freedom. Hess handles it beautifully. I've not done it with Wasabi. I think Laura did with Wasabi when they were at a hotel, and he did great. I had Wrangler, and Wrangler did great out without a crate in a hotel. So, you know, you have to know your dog. Any questions about watch me or crating? Everybody's good? Okay, yay. I'm just trying to look at,
A note on having Wasabi out. The hotel that I had him out in had a tile floor. It was, we checked it out. It had under bed lighting so that we could see where he was. And he did great. There really wasn't anything soft there for him to chew on or tear up. At my brother's been a state park naturalist for 30 years. He's got furs, he's got feathers, he's got stuff all over his house. We crated him the night that we were at my brother's house. So it's just, when we were at my dad's, he was in a crate, primarily because I needed to be able to sleep comfortably. And I could do that knowing he was safe and I didn't have to worry about him. So, look at the surroundings and make the decision, but they got to have a chance to try it. And
Yes.
so we did one
Yep.
couple nights.
and I definitely wouldn't try to 8 weeks or even maybe 4 months. But as they get a little bit older, if you have a safe area, definitely try it with them. The other one is down. Sometimes I hear our handlers using down as off and off as down. So off means off, like off the couch, off of the counter if their front feet are up. If they're up on something and you want them to, if they're up on a bed, you want them off. Okay, that's off. Down is, that's down. That position on the ground, that's down. Okay, that's not off. So we want to be sure, because you have to remember, if if you have a dog that's going on to somebody else, we want to make sure that the commands are being used, that they're the same commands are being used. So if you're using off for down, that dog's going to be super confused when they get transferred to the next person. So please make sure that you're using, you know, I mean, every once in a while we make a mistake. Down, oh, I mean off. But just be sure that you're not consistently making that mistake. And I have heard that. And it does say, tells the dog to put its body on the ground or floor, which is down in that position. That doesn't mean off. Off means you're off a counter, you're off a floor, off a couch, you're off of something you shouldn't be on, or I no longer want you on. So you want to be sure that you know the difference between down and off. With whether it's more with your prison dogs, but you can start with your puppies, is the positions of heel, which is your left side, and side, which is your right. A heel just positions your dog at your left, usually with your head, with their head, sorry, not your head, with their head facing your leg, you know, facing forward, the same direction as you, but their head should be at your knee, unless you're one of the Great Dane Labs. We confirmed with the director that because they're so big, it's okay for their head to go a little bit ahead of the knee, just they're so huge. So heel is left, side is right, and your prison dogs should know that. You should be able to stand anywhere and say so-and-so heel and give them a minute. The big thing about giving a command is not giving the command over and over again. Sally heel, heel, Sally heel, and calling their name 10 times and saying the command 10 times, because then it becomes worthless to the dog. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? It needs to be Hess heel. And as you see them start to think, the wheels start to turn, you want to start to mark them. Yes, that's it. So Hess does it very slowly. I'll say heel, or Hess heel, and he'll be like, okay. It's like a sloth. And he gets there, but as hey, leave it. Come here. Hess, come. Good boy. I want you drinking that. There's other water for you. As he's turning, I'm marking, yes, that's it. Good boy. And then he gets himself in position. So you want to be sure that as they're thinking about what they're doing and they're starting to make that motion to heel or sit, that you're marking them positively as they're doing it. Yes, that's it. Because then they realize, oh, I'm getting this right. You don't want to keep saying Hess heel, Hess heel, Hess heel until they're in position. You want to say it. And sometimes even after think time, they're like, I'm not sure what you said. So you might want to wait a few seconds. Maybe, I mean, we talk about with kids, giving them 5 seconds. So 3 to 5 seconds with a dog, same thing. And then maybe saying the command again or resetting them. A lot of time I'll reposition them and then be like, Hess heel. And then he'll do it again.
I just wanted to tell you, I got permission to use a gentle leader with Conan.
Good.
When we're walking, like, I don't really use it like when I take him to a store, because I don't really, it's like outside that he's like, but he's actually been doing really well with that. I hold it a little bit behind me so that his head is farther back, and he actually stays pretty well with his head like by or behind my knee. So he's actually doing really well with staying back, even though he's so flippin' big. I took him on the train today and he took up like all the space.
Okay. Are you like going back and forth with it, like using it sometimes and then like the next time not using it?
Yeah, so I've basically been using it when I'm taking him on a walk in the neighborhood, and I actually keep his other collar on as well. I have both because I want him to still feel the collar that he's more used to.
Right?
So I kind of walk him with 2 leashes. I probably look like a crazy person. Um, but I'm trying to do what I think is best as far as him still knowing what that feels like.
Good.
But then, like, even today when I took him on the train to Sanford, once we got in the train, I took the gentle leader off. And, you know, if I needed to move him or whatever, I just did it with the regular collar just to kind of let him know I needed him to scoot a little bit and I really only put it on because I just kind of flip the nose part of it down and
Uh-huh.
then I flip it back up if we were walking and
Okay.
he started to pull, then I just put it right back on. So I'm trying to not rely on it all of the time, but I've actually lost a few pounds. Yay. So now he only weighs like 5 pounds less than me. So I just need it for when he sees like a squirrel or a lizard or another dog because he pulls so hard it's like impossible for me to control him.
Gotcha. Okay, so just a segue into that. If you are having a dog that is having an issue with pulling, and you've tried all of the strategies that we have given in the past, turning around, calling them back to you, stopping, everything. If you feel like, okay, I need another strategy, you need to call the office and confirm with them, just like Valerie did, about using a gentle lead. I know that some people have used them in the past. Usually if you're consistent and you keep working on that turning around and all the strategies we give, you usually can get your dog back into check. Sometimes
I'm still doing that when he has the gentle leader on, still walking away if he does start to pull or turning around. But
Good.
it's like before I was using that, if I tried to turn, he just wouldn't turn. And I can't physically turn him because he's so strong.
Right. Right.
So it's helped a lot.
Excuse me. Hess and Sabi. Come here. Come here. Thank you. I could hear the little amp up of the growling, and we're gonna just put an end to that. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Valerie. Appreciate
Wendy,
it.
Wendy, this is Brandon. I have a question.
Okay.
So as you know, we're brand new, and
Yes.
I'm listening and taking notes here. But the thing I've noticed today is Pastel, just when she's on the leash, she like starfishes on the floor with her legs out, like a mop.
Yep.
And she doesn't want to walk. And so before we can even get to the heel and the sit and all that stuff, how are we supposed to get her to walk?
So, Brandon, you just brought her home. She is a brand new. I mean, even though I had her for the weekend, she's brand new to you. So I would just give her some time to be a puppy. If you can get her to know her name, and at least look at you when you call her name. Our puppies usually have a hard time like walking on tile at first because it's slippery and their little legs aren't. But I might take her out in the backyard and just have her follow you around in the backyard without putting a leash on her. Because you have an enclosed backyard, plenty of grass. I would take her out and just call her name. And when she comes to you, yay, Pastel. And then go to the other end of the yard and call her name and have her come to you. She's a puppy, so she wants to please. So she's going to come to you. Go on.
Okay.
So I wouldn't necessarily worry about leash walking her right this second. I would definitely put her little collar on her. I had it on her over the weekend and she seemed to do okay with it. I did not leash her just once.
Okay.
So
that's probably a good point. I guess she's not really going anywhere, right?
No, and she's not going. I mean, hopefully, Brandon, you're fast enough to catch her if she does.
Yeah. Okay. Right,
yeah,
perfect.
I would worry about leash walking her right now, or I would worry about her name. I would try to get her to wait. I would start working on weight. And you're literally, when you feed her, you're going to have to hold her. If I can find my Wasabi videos, I'll send it to you. I think it's in my thing. I'll send it to Jamie just to show the progression. I mean, when Wasabi came home at 8 weeks, I would put his food down. He'd be like, trying to get to it. And it just took every day twice throughout, and when he was a puppy, 3 times a day, of making him sit and only just making him wait for a couple seconds and then release. And then as you do it over time, they learn it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I hope that
Thank
helps.
you. No, that does. That does. Thank
Okay.
you.
I wouldn't worry about some of the stuff is just going to be the basics for you because she's only 10 weeks. So
Okay, perfect. Thank
you're welcome. Another really super important one is leave it. Today we had a good practice with that with our dogs. We were again at a camp, and the kids they're at the Halifax Humane Society, so they had just made dog treats for the dogs at the Humane Society, and so there was little remnants all over the floor. And so our dogs, when they kind of went out to greet the kids, they were like, oh, things on the floor. And so most of our dogs knew leave it. I mean, all of them know the leave it command. It was interesting to watch. So there was a little boy, and the little boy said to me, this doggy, which was Quinn, is licking the floor. And as soon as I said, Quinn, leave it, she looked at me like, who, me? I'm not doing anything. And she stopped. And I just kept watching her. Hess was like, oh, there was like little beads on the floor. There was little like remnants of treats. And he was like, oh, look at all. And I just told him, leave it. Wasabi, it took a little bit more. He knew he was supposed to leave it. He got some things in his mouth, but then as soon as I said drop it, he dropped it because one was a bead. And so it just, you have to figure out where your dog is, but that's something you definitely want to start right away. Teaching them is to leave the things that you don't want them to have. So leave it means they can't ever have it. You say leave it, and at that point, you should take it out of their sight. Remove it, get rid of it. They can't have it. So you don't want to tell them to leave a treat if you're practicing. So sometimes I will practice making the dogs wait and put the treats on their paws. I'm not going to say leave it to do that. I'm going to say wait, and they'll wait until I release them. So leave it means you can't have it. And that's something we want to teach our dogs, because when they go out in public, we don't want them eating everything off the ground, which is normal for our dogs. They want to, they want to be little vacuums, especially the labs. If you have a lab, they'll be eating everything. So we really, super important that we teach them leave it. One of the ways that we have talked about that is by putting food on the ground and having them on a leash and letting them get like this far away and then say, leave it. And as soon as they start to look at you like, why, you want to praise them. Yes, good, leave it. And then kind of, you have them on a leash. So then kind of pull them away from it. And you just practice that over and over again. You want to have a high value. I mean, for most dogs, it doesn't have to be a high value treat, but like when I do that, I will use hot dogs, just little pieces of hot dogs that will entice them. And then and you just keep practicing that. Leave it is real hard for our dogs, most of them. They have a difficult time leaving food on the ground. But when you go to a restaurant and the dog goes under the table, what's under the table? Food. It's like a feast. Now, I will normally check under the table before I sit down somewhere. And if it's too bad, I don't sit there. I will say, if I'm being seated, I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't be. But if I'm choosing it, then I make sure that it's not terrible. So any questions about leave it? That's a super important one for our dogs. Your prison dog should have it. If they don't, it's something you need to work on.
I was confused a little bit when you said you use hot dogs. Is the hot dog the item you're leaving it, or are you rewarding them?
Nope, the hot dogs is the item, because I want them to get used to leaving food on the floor and not touching it. So I use a hot dog because I know my particular dogs that I've had like hot dogs. And I just use a little tiny piece. I'll put it on the floor. I leash them. I let them start to go get as close as possible. And then as soon as they're close up, I don't do it when they're a mile away. I'll do it when they're pretty close, and I'll be like, so-and-so, leave it. And the minute they start to turn toward me like, oh, is that, then I praise them. But if they're like focused on it, I'll say again, so-and-so, leave it.
Mhm.
And at some point, they're going to start to turn either away from the treat or toward you. They're going to realize that they're not going to win. The second they do that, it's all about timing. The second they start to, you can feel it in the leash or you can see it. You want to praise them. Yes, good, leave it. And then pull them away and then try it again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you only use verbal praise, you don't give them a treat to
You
praise them
could.
for leaving the food.
You could. I don't,
Mhm.
especially with the prison dogs, but you know your dog. Like if you think they would do better if you brought them to you and gave them a treat, just don't give them the treat you've told them to leave.
Got it.
Yeah, you want to make sure that they don't get that.
And if they are faster than you and they get it in their mouth, you dig it out.
Yes.
They cannot have it.
Yeah. We have on the side of my house, we have dryer lint that comes out of the side of the house. And for some reason, the dogs like that. It's disgusting. And I can't tell you how many times I yell, leave it, but it's already, because we're playing outside, it's already in their mouth and I have to go digging down in their throat. You're not hurt. I've dug so far down and usually I come up with a hunk of it. And Hess knows, he knows it. He knows he's not supposed to get it. But there's something about the smell and the texture of it, I think. But yeah, I don't want them eating that. So don't be afraid to dig down into your dog's throat. I know it sounds scary, but it's not, and they might try to like gnaw on you like, oh, you can't have, but they're not going to bite you. And I say that I've not had that experience. They don't want to bite you. They want your fingers out of your mouth. So they're going to let you get whatever you need to get. I've pulled paper towels out of my dog's mouths because that's another thing. Paper towel and toilet paper is big items. So don't be afraid to reach down and just, Hess acts like he's going to die. He's like, I'm like, if you didn't grab it, I wouldn't have to do it. So don't be.
Kleenex is another one.
Yeah,
Kleenexes, yep.
yes. So I try to keep those up where they can't reach them. But like the other night, there was a paper towel and it must have had some food remnant on it. And Hess got it. And all of a sudden he was like, and my husband's like, what's he got? And I'm like, oh, it's a paper towel. And he had just eaten it so fast, but fortunately I got it. So you do have to be pretty quick sometimes with these dogs. So leave it is a big one. Sometimes it will work. And you hope eventually most times it will work when you say leave it. But if they get it before you say it, you gotta go diving.
Wendy,
Yes.
Eileen asked about quiet and help with getting Fennel to be quiet. Since Wrangler's a talker, I feel your pain, Eileen.
Well, I can clarify a little bit. So my husband's a physician, so Fennel comes with us every day to work. He's already working helping patients and stuff. It's really impressive how much he changes their visits. But anyway, what I first noticed was that if I walked away from him and he couldn't see me, he had a little bit of separation anxiety and he would call for me. Now he just calls to be out and about. So for example, if I'm talking with a patient, I tell him to go in underneath the desk and he'll usually stay there for a little while, but then he'll come out, he'll talk to the patient a little bit. If I say you can make a friend, and then he'll go out like to the bigger part of the area before I can get him to go back in. And then he starts like barking over the barrier that I have. So he doesn't like go out and trip over anybody. So what I've been trying to say is like get his attention, I correct him quiet and I praise him for quiet. I try to have some, and if he's quiet, I'm like, good, quiet, good, give him a couple treats and I say the word quiet. But I feel like it's getting a little bit worse and not better, if that makes sense.
How long have you had
The
Fennel?
devils here. Since he's 8 weeks. So, and he's 5.5 months now, I guess.
Oh, so he's little. He's little and he's talking.
A
Wow.
lot.
Wendy, he's Wasabi's brother.
Yes, he's Wasabi's brother.
Okay. Interesting. So I
That
think,
seems to be it, Wendy. That seems to be a very vocal group because Jill has the same problem with Saffron. They're very, very barky.
yes, Wasabi's not. I mean, not that I've experienced.
Got lucky because Saffron is she barks and barks and
Well, and I
barks.
find that more with the girls anyway, that they are more talkative. So, so
I
Eileen,
mean, for the most part, it's not that, like, he doesn't bark at the door if I tell him quiet. He doesn't hit the barking in the kennels, not as bad,
will he
at
speak
all.
when you ask on command? If you say
Not
speak,
yet. No, not yet.
not yet. Okay. So, does he speak at, like, I wouldn't try this in your office, but at home, does he speak?
Only if he's in the kennel and, if he needs to go to the bathroom, he'll ask to get out to go to the bathroom. But
And-
not usually, or
Do
if
you-
I still feed him in the kennel because he tries to swipe my other dog's food, so I feed him in the kennel.
Okay.
And then if he's ready to be done and get out, he's verbal about that.
Does he, do you let, like, when he talks in the kennel, do you go and let him out or do you make him wait until he's quiet?
No, I make him wait till he's quiet and we're working right now on him not bolting as soon as the door is open. We're doing like wait. before
Like
the door
wait
is
at the
open.
kennel? Okay.
And he's really good, like when we're going out to potty, or busy. He says gets busy, the other one gets potty. A little confusing, but, when we go out to busy, he's very good at not bolting out of the door, to go busy. So we're working on the kennel part too. So no, I don't let him out if he barks at me. He can bark from
Okay,
here till next week.
Good. So
but-
I just would, when he barks, as soon as you hear him bark in the kennel, I would tell him quiet.
Mhm.
And the minute he quiets, I would tell him, good, quiet, good. And
Yes.
then make sure you're letting him out, even if you have to make him wait, but definitely let him out. Same
Mhm.
thing at work. Do you leash him when he's under the desk or is he free?
No, I usually always have him on the leash,
Okay.
just so I can control who he makes friends
Good.
with. Cause
Absolutely.
and I can control, his space.
Okay. So I would continue rewarding him when he's quiet.
Okay.
The second he's quiet, maybe have a treat there and give him a treat, good,
Okay.
quiet. And then you're good. What you might need to do is you might need to practice at home, you separating from him for a little bit, like making him do a downstay and you walking away, or him sitting with your husband, or so that he has opportunity for you to walk away, because
Right.
they get very attached to us and they want to know where we are. And if barking gets it done, they'll bark for that.
Right. And then, but he's also barking now because he wants, it's like we have the reception area and then I have a small desk behind the reception area. Sometimes he only has the space for the reception area, my space. Sometimes he has the whole space. And then when he has the whole space, he wants to like leave. He wants to go visit with all the patients and all the rooms.
Right, but you have him on a leash.
I do have him on a leash and then I will take him. Sometimes, like if I'm putting a patient back in the room, I'll take him with me and, we'll talk about, we're going to go do some work. Let's help this be, like I talk to him about what he's doing.
Right?
Sounds crazy,
No,
but he's got work to do while he's there.
right,
Mhm.
right. So, Etta, can you hear me? Etta, are you there? Etta is one of our trainers. It's on tonight, but wondering if,
I'm there. I just had to find the button.
oh, Etta, can you address the barking at all? If we've missed something?
Wait a minute. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, yep, we can hear you.
Okay, Blackjack is a talker also. Usually I try to turn my back on him, which usually doesn't work. He's just a talker. But sometimes if you can, in a situation where you can ignore them and completely ignore them while they're barking, and then once they're quiet, like Wendy said, then give them a reward.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of right at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just doesn't bark as much at home. And then, I mean, my husband, I'll call him Dr. Shapiro because I call him that at work, but he's like, like he loves having him there and the patients love having him there. But it's disruptive, when he's with a patient. And,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Fennel's barking in a whole
I
other
wonder
city.
if you can practice with him at home, like getting him to speak. So
Yeah, I'll work
when
on
he's at
that.
the kennel speaking, go over to him and say, yes, good speaks. And then
Yeah.
tell him to quiet. Like you can teach him, okay,
Mhm.
this is speaking and now this is quiet.
Okay.
Eileen,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, with Wrangler, when Wrangler gets bored, he will come and look at you, and you can see that the next thing that's going to happen is he's going to bark.
Mhm.
And he's learned, Wendy saw me do it today because we were with the kids and he'd been laying down and he'd been being good. And he's my land shark. He is just staying down is hard for him.
Mhm.
So he stood up and he starts looking, and he looked at me and I was like, and he knows the look.
Mhm.
And part of it, I think, is he gets my attention.
Mhm.
And if I can give him attention before he barks,
Yep.
then he doesn't.
Yep.
And so with him, I just have to remember, okay, you're down and you're being good. I can't tell him, oh, good, down, stay, because as soon as I say good dog, he thinks he's done.
Right.
He thinks that was release and it's all good. But that preemptive,
Mhm.
you get with that look in their eye, and he's going, I'm gonna talk, and it's like, no, you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just doing so well and he's so smart. And I mean, I feel like for 5.5 months old, like he rides in the elevator, he knows to walk in the elevator, turn around, go backwards. Like he just has done so much so naturally. And his rapport that he has with the patients is unbelievable. So I think if we could kind of maybe just hopefully fix this maybe before he goes to
Yep.
prison, then
Yep.
that would
And
be
a lot of
really
it, I
helpful.
think, is all about the timing.
Yeah,
Not, like Laura said, catching him before
Yeah.
he does it so that he knows, okay, you're not in charge, I am.
okay.
Yep.
We'll work on it.
Good
Hopefully
question.
by a couple weeks, we'll have
Yeah.
better news.
It sounds like you're doing a great job with
Yeah.
He's
these.
a great, he is an incredible animal. I mean, he's
Yeah, so is Wasabi.
That's
Wasabi's a
phenomenal.
good boy.
To have him in the office like that is phenomenal, and that
Yeah.
interaction with the patients is phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
good
And
job.
with my husband, does a lot of cancer, and we have, we have a couple women that have breast cancer and have to get a diagnosis, and he's right there up with them, and you can just tell
What a
their
stress reliever.
the whole interaction is so much different with him being there. It's incredible. It really is incredible.
Yeah, it is. Well, we got to remember he's only 5.5 months old.
I know.
So is my Tahiti. So you got to realize he is going to have things like that that'll, as he matures, will go away. So
I've been saying Wasabi is 6 months. I guess he is only 5.5 months.
Hey, Wendy, I was not the same thing about Sage. But what I realized that she likes is if when you're talking, she wants to be talking also.
Oh,
geez,
yes.
that's bad.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Well, and that's where her quiet comes in, teaching her that no, you're not going to talk while I'm talking, yeah. Yeah, I've seen dogs do that. I've not had my own, I've not raised one that's done that, I don't think. So those are just things, you've got to come up with strategies that are, because it's different for every dog. You just want to remember that it's Laura, what are you doing?
Wrangler was gonna come talk, so we're playing throw the tennis ball instead.
Oh, got you. Okay. Okay. So it's figuring out what's going to work for your dog or what will work for your dog because it's not one, okay, what works for mine is going to work just even these dogs who are related, like who Nikki has and Eileen has and we have Wasabi, they're different dogs. And so you want to we try to give you several different strategies so that if one doesn't work, maybe another will work. And it just depends on the dog because they're all different.
Okay, yeah, because Sage is Wasabi and Fennel and Basil.
Right.
They're
Right.
that whole crew.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they just need to be so vocal.
That's so funny because Wasabi's pretty much not like that. He's not very vocal. He will talk every so often, but it's not. In fact, when he does, I'm like, oh wow, you can speak.
He grumble talks a lot.
He does that when he has a bone in his mouth. He's like,
Yeah, when he has, or he's something and he's like, I got this and I want to show you this. And
Yeah.
and you walk in the door sometimes and he has to tell you about his day. But it's not barking, it's the golden grumbling.
growl. Yeah. So you do want to, if you feel like your dog's barking or speaking, I don't want to say it's out of control, but it's something that is an issue, you do want to address it. You want to make sure that you're either telling them to quiet and making that quiet happen, whether you walk away from what you were doing so the dog stops, just getting them so that they realize it's not okay. If it's inappropriate, I mean, you have to decide. Like Eileen, she's in an office, so Fennel can't be barking whenever he wants to. So you have to decide, okay, is the barking okay? Or is it just bothering, is it just bothering me? So we had Brooklyn years ago and she was a talker. When she came out of her crate in the morning, she bark at me. I guess she was telling me about her night. When I would come home from school and she would be here during the day, she would bark at me. So I finally called the director and I said, hey, I got this dog that barks. And she said, well, Wendy, she's a golden. Yeah, I know, they bark. Okay, so you just have to decide, is her barking bothering me or is it really inappropriate? Should they not be doing it in the situation we're in? So that's kind of what you have to decide.
We took her and she was good for the singing and everything else, but when it got quiet, then she started barking.
Oh, at church, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if I know my dog is not, and most of them do, we go and they lay down and they pretty much lay down for the whole thing. But if I think they're not going to, I will either, once it's quiet, I might get up with them, walk out with them, give them a break for a second and then come back in.
Okay.
Or I am paying attention to whether they're going to bark or not. And I'm making sure that I'm like, oh no. And I'm closing their mouth like this. And I'm like, no. We're not going to talk during church. So you have to decide, is it that they need to go potty and that's why they're talking? Are they bored? Can they lay down? I mean, most of my dogs can pretty much lay down for the whole, whatever the church service is, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever. So yeah, you have to decide. The other day I took Wrangler to Jazzercise with me and well, first of all, he has a hard time sitting anyway, but he could not settle. And I'm like, dude, and Wasabi was out like a light, doing nothing, got all this music around him. He's done. Wrangler. And so finally I took him out and sure enough, he had to go potty. So you kind of have to read your dog's signs. And Wrangler was very much telling me, I have to go to the bathroom now. And once he did, he was better. We're going to work on Jazzercise because he was not as good as Wasabi. And he's older. So yeah, I mean, you want to have expectations for them, but they have to be reasonable and you have to know your dog. And you have to, if they're not meeting your expectation, get them there, figure out how to get them there. The other one, that's one we use often, is stay. So you should be practicing the down stays with your dog on a regular basis. And you should be practicing them in different places, in your house, outside, at the store, and you just walk to the end of your leash and give them a couple of seconds, depending on how old your dog is. If it's a puppy, it's a couple seconds. If they're older, it can be longer. And then walk back to them and release them. So be sure that you're working on downstays. And if you're struggling and you need some help, don't hesitate to reach out to me, reach out to the office, and Kate will put you in touch with me. The other one that's real important that all our dogs have to know is load. They have to know how to load in a vehicle. Do not pick them up if they are 2 years old or 15 months old. If they're babies, they're puppies, they're 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14, whatever. You're gonna work in increments. So when Wasabi was little, for my truck, I have a running board, and so I just had him put his little feet up on the running board. And that's what he's been doing. And then as he got older, he was able to put his feet up into the truck. And now he's not quite big enough to actually make the jump into my truck, but he can get his little feet up there. And sometimes I just have to give him a little nudge on his butt and he's up. So definitely have the expectation that you're going to at least practice with them starting from a very young age. If they're older dogs, they should definitely be able to load in your vehicle with no problem, either the side or the back, depending on where you put them. The other thing I wanted to talk about when we're loading, so this is a seatbelt. This is the part that goes into the seatbelt, and this is the part that hooks to the dog. There are all kinds of these. There are ones that are stretchy, like have a stretchy part of it. And I use a carabiner. So because if I'm going to put them in the back, I don't have the seatbelt option. So I hook the seatbelt into the carabiner, and the carabiner goes in a little latch in the back of my car. If they're in the middle seat, it's just the seatbelt. But especially our puppies, we want to make sure they're safe. And our older dogs, you know, hopefully nobody's ever in an accident, but if you've ever been in an accident, you know everything flies forward. If you had a dog in there, that dog's going to end up flying forward, and you want to make sure that they're safe. I was in an accident a few years ago, and I had a Chihuahua in my car. He was in the back seat in somebody's arms, and he flew to the front seat and underneath the gas pedal, and we couldn't find him. We eventually did, but it was very scary because I had a concussion. I didn't know it because my head hit the steering wheel, and I couldn't find this little tiny 5-pound dog. Eventually we did, and he was fine. It scared him, I think. And so I can only imagine a big dog. So it's real important that we're making sure that when we're riding with them, that they're safe. If they're in the back, make sure that they're leashed. And if they're in that middle seat, they should never be riding in the front seat. They should never be, that should just not be a thing. Because if you just think about I always think when I'm driving, what if I was ever in an accident? So I have in my husband's car a hammock-like thing that hooks to both seats. So it hooks to the seats in the front and it hooks to the seats in the back. And it gives them a little bit of extra room lying down in that back seat. And it also keeps them from coming up to the front seat. I usually will belt them in, but yes. Somebody said Wendy.
Wendy, I have a comment about loading the dogs.
Okay.
These dogs, their growth plates do not close until they're at least 18 months old. You want to be very careful with the dogs jumping in or out of the car, because that can really mess up their joints. So be very careful with letting them jump in or jump out. Even the smaller dogs, you may want to lift them in for a while, or like somebody said, just boost them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wasabi is 5.5 months old. He's pretty big, but I'm still in my truck. He still is not able to make that jump, and I'm not forcing him. I want him to know that when I say load, he does put his feet up, and then I will go, okay, come on. And then he'll kind of lift his little foot up and then his other little foot. And then I give him a little boost and then he's in. Coming out, I will let the bigger dogs out first, and then I will make him wait. And then I will make him gently come out, partially because I don't want him leaping. They can hurt like Etta said, their growth plates and their elbows in their wrists. Well, wrist area. So yeah, so just be mindful of that.
Wendy, on the the seatbelt latch. So
Yes.
do you hook that to their collar or do you actually put a harness on them
Nope,
so that you're
I
hooking
hook
the
this
harness
to their collar.
collar? Okay.
Yep, it's an actual,
Mhm.
yes. And so this one goes pretty long, so it gives them room to move around the truck, my truck, and then, or my husband's car. But some people have them where they're stretchy. They like, it's not, it's, I can't think of the word, but it just gives a little bit more than this does. And I like those. I think Margot has one for Levi and I like it. It's a little bit more, it gives a little bit more. So for instance, if I have them in the back and now they should be waiting, but if I open that back end and for some reason they come out without permission, they're hooked, but they also have enough room so it's not like choking them. So they have some stretchy. So there are ones you can get that have a little bit more give. Also, if you open your car and you say, well, you should be saying wait. And if your dog gets out, what do you think you should do? Without your permission, before you give permission, what should you do?
Make them go back in.
Yep. Make them go back in, make them get right back in there and load and wait and then do it again. Absolutely. That should really be done with any command that they're not successful at. If you tell them to sit and they're like, do. We have that issue with Wrangler sometimes. He's like, sit, what's that? So reset them, but never not make them follow through with the command. You give them a command, they should do it. Or you should make sure they do it. Don't walk away and be like, okay, we'll try later. Don't do that. Reset them, maybe try another command and then go back to the other command, but don't let them get away with not doing it. So just a couple of other things. If you are not familiar with the retrieve commands, most of our dogs probably will retrieve something at some point for their person, whether it's their keys, their phone. And now not all of our dogs need retrieve, but we like to make sure they have it. So there's a retrieval succession. So look, get it, hold, bring it here, give. Those are the 5. So you want to make sure that you're, especially when you're teaching it, that you are doing it in that succession. Like you put something on the ground, look, get it, hold makes it so that they have to bring it to you. You can start with just having them hold things in their mouth to get them used to it. So like I will take a clicker, a remote control, or a phone, or something that's a little bit, a spoon or keys, and I will just set it in their mouth and have them hold it. Has to come, come. So I might take my phone and place it in his mouth like this, and then I'll just hold, good boy. Okay, give, and then have him give it to me. I'm not holding tightly. I'm holding very gently, but I'm letting him know I want him to hold on to that item, because lots of our recipients that get our dogs don't necessarily have the control with their hands, and they really need, when they need the retrieve, they need that dog to get it and bring it to them and either put it in their hands or place it in their lap. And so the dog, it's real important that they have that hold. So you can just, sometimes I'll just sit on the couch and practice with the dogs with items that are near me, like the remote, like, what else do we practice with there, buddy? I just, whatever's around me. It might be a piece of paper, might be a credit card, just to get things in their mouth. And then I hold their little nose down, and Hess is real good at it. Wasabi's getting there. So yeah. So definitely the hold is something you can work them each separately, but that's how we want them to learn it eventually. Look, because they're looking at the item. So-and-so get it, hold it enough. Don't just get it and then drop it. Bring it here and then give. Okay. You can practice with them getting their leash, put their leash on the ground, have them go get it. I know a lot of our dogs are doing that. And dun, dun, dun. Okay, so let's see, it's 8:05. So one of the things that I was asked to talk about was, so when we're getting together for our in-person training. So our in-person training right now is at the very end of July, whatever that date is. I know Kate sent it out. It's the very last Saturday in July, which is the 31st. So we are going to have an in-person training. It's probably going to be more local. I think this is July. August, I think we're going to try to do the Tampa area. And July, August, September, October, we're going to try to do either St. Augustine, that direction. Okay, just so you have an idea. But this month for July will be somewhere in the local area. And when you get together with other New Horizons dogs, I know everybody's excited to see each other and the puppies are excited to see each other. But the goal would be is not to allow them to run up to each other and like be buddies. So if you're somebody that's on this training and you've heard that, the next time you go to an in-person training, just be aware of that you kind of need to keep your dog back. Maybe you want to get there a few minutes early and give them a little bit of walk to get, because I know when they see all the other dogs, I think they know they're all related. Like, oh, I know those dogs, they have the vest on. But we don't necessarily want them all making friends and letting them run up to each other, because we don't want them running up to other dogs. So does that make sense to everybody? Just be mindful of that, especially if you're coming to the in-person trainings, which are mandatory if you're in the area. Obviously, if you live in West Palm Beach and we're here having it in this Central Florida area, we understand. Or you live, Jacksonville. I know some people actually have come from Jacksonville when we've had trainings here, and we really appreciate that. We just know that when you're a few hours away, it's a little bit harder. So, but if you're local, we really, really expect you to make those trainings. They're very helpful. It's good for you to see other people with their dogs, and they're just a little bit different than the Zoom trainings are great and they're helpful. At least I hope they are. But it's real important that when you can come to an in-person training. I know those of you that went to the fire stations, we're going to try to do, I think we're going to try to do the fire station near Tampa. They're super helpful. And if you live in an area, like I know we came down to West Palm in April, we'll hit West Palm again. But if you are in that area and gosh, I could set up a training with a fire station, just call them. Tell them you're from a nonprofit. You're trying to expose service dogs, and then let the other raisers in your area, hey, I got a fire station, we can go to it. It's really good. It was just watching the video with our dogs. I didn't get to go because I was up in New York, but just seeing them in uniform, all decked out in their gear was really great for our dogs. The sounds, everything. I think that pretty much everybody benefited from it. So we had one that was down in South Orlando and we had one in DeLand. So, and I think we're going to try to do another one. I think the one in Tampa is going to be, so what I wanted to say is we're not sure where July's training is going to be yet. So it's to be determined. So we are going to have a training. So put that on your schedule, 10 to 12, but we're not sure of the location. So if we can't get into a fire station again, we're going to try to do a mall, just because by that point it's going to be super hot, in case you're not hot already. Okay, so making sure that just with those in-person classes, we're not letting our dogs just go, I know you, because they do get excited. So it's your job to control your dog. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, so somebody said, should I pick her up to get into the car? No. So you only want to pick them up so far as needed. So right now for Wasabi, he is putting his feet up on actually in my truck because he's tall enough, and he's getting his little foot on the running board. And then as soon as he puts his other foot up there, I'm like, okay, push. And usually he'll nudge himself once in a while. I just have to give him a little boost, but try not to pick them up to put them in the car. Try to encourage them from, even just 8 weeks, getting their little paws up. They get their little paws up, then yes, pick them up. But the older, as they get bigger, you want them to try to get themselves up in the car. Now, obviously, if it's an SUV and you're getting in the back, that's just an encouragement of them getting up. And even if you're picking them up because they're little, still use the command load. Tell them load and put them in. Yay, you loaded, good job. Some are obviously too little. So you make a judgment call there. Don't pick them up though if you know that they can get themselves partly up into that vehicle. Can we trim the hair in the bottom of their paws? Oh, absolutely. Come here, buddy. Come here, Hussy. Come. My lap. My lap. Yes. You're talking about this part under this? Yes. Okay. Yes, absolutely. Trim it so it's even with the paw. Yep.
Yeah, I just noticed Fennel's got really long and he's been like sliding around.
Yep.
So I looked at his paws. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
we've
So
never
are-
had dogs that had that much hair.
Yes. Are his feet getting grinchy as well?
Not on the top, no.
Okay. All right. So that's another thing. Thank you, Eileen, for bringing that up. Be sure when you're going out in public with our dogs that you are making sure that they are groomed well. And I don't mean take them to a groomer, just that they've been brushed, that they don't have like mats all over them, that you're checking behind their ears for mats. That's an issue with our Goldens, is they get matted behind their ears and on their butt hair. So please be sure that you're watching that. We don't want you ever turning in a dog and they get to New Horizons and they're like, oh, they have all these mats on them, because that's something we should be watching. So if you don't have a good comb or a good brush to make sure that you're getting them out, get one. There are several out there. You can use a comb, you can use a brush, but there are tools out there that will help you so that they're not matted. We don't want you, for the most part, if you're able to cut those mats out, they usually can be combed or brushed out. And if you're brushing them often enough, mats shouldn't be a problem. It's when we don't brush them enough that they get those mats. They get them behind their ears, especially our longer haired dogs, and behind their butt and underneath their legs. So like you have them flip on their backs and you just brush that area underneath their legs. They get matted under there too. So please make sure, that you're trimming the hair on the bottom of their paws. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, you're more than welcome to take them to a groomer. If you live in the area, I don't mind coming. I just did Levi the other day. I have no problem with coming and doing it for you. It doesn't take me very long. And I know some people are not. Once you see it a couple times and you're like, oh, I can do this. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, okay. She answered that. Any tips for flying with the dog? Just make sure that you know, Melina, your whatever your airline's requirements are, because every airline is a little bit different. Most of them are requiring the, what's it called? The DOT form or something. So you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row. You probably will need a flight letter from Kate that she'll need to print out or send to you, that says that he's a service or she's a service dog in training, and that she has her, I don't know, whatever information Kate includes on the flight letter. But you just want to have all your ducks in a row. Also, same tip I gave to Laura, just act like you know what you're doing. That usually, if you just go, like I've done this a million times, then the dog will, it's all about you letting that dog know that you're confident, and that confidence going down the leash. So that's, that's the best advice I can give you, but definitely check your airline. And if you have any questions, you can text me, or because I have dealt with a couple of the airlines, but definitely check your airline site, or you can call the airline. Some of them are not allowing training dogs, but usually you can get around that. So I would find out who you're flying with. When you connect the seat belt to the collar, I use a little fixed bit on the collar. Next point when we go for, is that the correct attachment point? Jeff, are you still on here? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm here, Wendy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sure of your question.
So on the martingale, is it martingale collar?
Uh-huh.
There's the round loop that is where you put you attach it. So when you're going for a walk, you can do a correction if needed.
Uh-huh.
And then on mine, there's a little fixed bit to either above or below that. That's not part of that chain. It's actually connected on the collar itself.
Uh-huh.
So you can't really see it, but
Well, so I have three. Two are one is
I think he's talking about the dead lead.
talking about the what?
He's talking about the dead ring. Dead ring,
So
the one attached, the one that does not correct.
these two.
correct, right.
There are two of them,
They're on the end
right?
where the chain connects to the collar. Yeah, there's
Right.
one on each side.
Right.
But I don't use the one where you would, like, if you got into an accident or you had to stop quickly, he would get corrected.
Oh, I see. So that's the one you're using. Oh, okay. So you're saying you're using this one to attach in when
Right, so if I had to stop fast for any reason,
right.
then he
Gotcha.
wouldn't like get the correction coming through, like if
Okay.
we were going
So
for a
he's
walk.
saying this is the part he connects in the car and not this. Okay.
Right.
I
That's
agree.
great.
I do that also.
That's a great suggestion.
Well,
Yeah,
you don't want them to get choked or break their neck.
right,
So you definitely want to use the more stable one, definitely,
right. Yes,
so they don't get strangled.
yes. Okay, so I have one last thing. It's regarding probably an email that you should have gotten on the influenza shot. So apparently there are some issues with a couple of places here in Florida. New Horizons has asked us to get it. It's a 2-part shot. I would call around. I just called Ravenwood today for those of you that are near Ravenwood, and it's between 35 and 40, and that's with our discount. Laura and I think are going to go to the Lake Mary vet. I actually called the vet I normally go to, and they don't even have it. That's what they said anyway. I'm like, what? You don't have it? So I'm going to call again tomorrow earlier in the day and find out again. But be checking around. Because from what I understand from the email, they would like us to get that shot so that,
I have a
especially
question.
for those of you that might be traveling.
Right.
So,
And Wendy, my vet said the same thing. So I was trying to find another vet and they required like to do their initial,
Yeah,
health
yeah,
visit because
yeah.
she wasn't, I don't take her there. So it's been a little bit of a hassle
So
because
does-
my
so does
vet doesn't do it.
Ravenwood. So does Ravenwood. Ravenwood will do the same thing because they're gonna charge for the initial service charge if they've never been to
Yep.
Ravenwood.
Yep, exactly.
But I have a question. Can we vaccinate the puppies that are under 6 months old?
yes, I think they said 8 weeks and above.
Oh,
Mm,
did it? Okay.
I thought it did. I thought that's what the email said.
I didn't see that on the email.
Hang on. I thought I just looked at it
Okay.
today. I could be crazy. That's possible.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
Dog crazy.
You
Uh,
can vaccinate at 8 weeks.
Yeah, I thought that it said 8 weeks and above.
Okay, okay. That was my question. Good deal.
I'll look for my email, and if that's not the truth, I'll let you know, but
I'm pretty sure it is because I saw it and I already started Fennel's flu.
you started it already?
He got his first one last week. And the vet actually asked about the Bordetella too, because he said they were like, oh, it's an upper respiratory also. And I was like, no Bordetella, only. flu."
Oh, yeah, I don't think we do Bordetella.
Yeah, no.
So this said, yes, all dogs and puppies 8 weeks and older can have canine flu shot.
And and which one is it? Is there a specific one? Because I got asked that question.
Well, in her most current, in the one, this email that I'm looking at, it just says canine influenza, but I know, or canine flu shot, I'm sorry. But I know in another email, they were a little more specific. I'd have to find that one.
Okay, I'll go back.
I spoke with Janet. A couple different vet offices have been asking that question. we, to be safer, we want to cover the H3N2 and the H3N8.
Okay, yeah. And that's
So
the
there,
email that you
so
sent,
there's
right?
What is it?
there's one shot that has both. So I think there's one shot that's H3N2, and then there's one shot that's both of them combined.
Okay,
But I'm hearing different things from different vets.
yeah,
So if you can call me in the office tomorrow if you have more questions, but you know, I said canine influenza to make it broad because I wanted, you know, vet offices are just not being very specific with which ones they're giving, or they're asking for specific ones. So just if you can get any canine influenza, it's better than none.
Well, Kate, what about, you said X3N2 and what is the other one?
she
It's
put it in the chat. Laura put it in the
H-
chat.
yeah, H3N2 and H3 N8.
And 8. Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Saves you a phone call.
Okay. Oh, Animal Clinic of Wekiva did Elsa's influenza. Okay, good. Animal Clinic of
They will do-
Wekiva.
That's who's doing mine, yes, and they will do it. And it's like, what, $41 or something like that? It wasn't bad. I'm not gonna drive to Ravenwood for 41.
No, I know. That's what we were thinking too. Yeah. Yeah.
But we're currently a patient there, so.
Okay. Somebody has an appointment. Okay. So yeah, I guess I would call your own vet first. And I would tell them that, I don't know, I just would tell them that this is a service dog in training. They have all their shots. This is just an extra shot that our organization is asking. You know, I mean, I don't know why they can't be cooperative with us. We're just trying to do the right thing for our dogs. So some vets I think will. So I guess just, you know, let them know who you are and what you're doing. Okay.
Also, if they need extra paperwork requiring, you know, that has our tax deductible or anything for a 501(c)(3), you can always call me at the office. I can send you that paperwork and you can show it to your vet saying, you know, look, I'm volunteering for a nonprofit, and see if they give you any type of small discount, even if it's 10, 15%, at least that's something.
Good luck on that one.
Well, you can always try.
You can always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
They'll do it for major surgeries. I know that, but I don't know about just normal stuff.
Lake Mary Vet is giving us a 20% break.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
because I went to them a couple of years ago and I got a letter from New Horizons, and I also put a letter together that explained like who we were, and plus Dr. whatever his name is there, he is familiar with New Horizons, but so he offered it. The only problem is if you go to Lake Mary, you have to tell them it's under my account. It's I don't know, like when you go in, you just have to let them know, hey, this dog is under Wendy Hartman. I don't know why, but yeah. So you can always ask your vet. Tell them that you are raising a dog for a nonprofit, and you know, are they willing? You can get a letter, you can get whatever documentation that they need. If they just give you a discount, even 10% is something. It's better than nothing, and it doesn't hurt. I mean, the worst they can say is no.
Right.
And the best they can say is yes. So, yeah. Okay, so the last thing, I talked about the shot, I talked about trainings. I thought there was one other thing. Any questions at this point? Any questions, any comments, anything for the good of the group? Successes you've had recently? No. So I just have to say, I took Wrangler to New York with me, to my mom's, where I was clearing out her house. And she has a large, about an acre property. And he just was such a good dog. He was so good. There was so much activity. My daughter and I were hustling to get this huge house cleared out. And he just was so good. He stuck by my side. It was, my mother didn't have air conditioning, and there was the first week wasn't bad. The second week was terrible. It was so hot. And he just, we also had my daughter's dog. And he just, you could tell he was not thrilled with the heat, but he sucked it up, and he just was a really, really good boy. We got him to the lake. He did get to go in the water and cool off, but I just was very impressed just with, we had a lot of riding in the car, a lot of just working, going up and down stairs, and he just pretty much stayed with me. I have a real cute picture of him peeking his little face up over the attic. I was up in the attic, and he wanted to come up, but the stairs are like literally almost straight up. And so he got to the top, but he couldn't quite get himself up on the landing part. So he has his little head up, and he just, I was very impressed with just how he handled himself, how he was with other dogs in the neighborhood, and how he traveled. So I guess that just, for me, that just says, don't be afraid to try things, new things. Hopefully you're doing that with your dog on a regular basis, because usually they can handle it. And Wrangler does, like, he has issues. He can't stay under the table, and he just really shined on this trip. So it was nice to have him. And that was actually the first time I'd had him for an extended period. Normally Laura has him, and then we trade Wasabi, but I was able to have him for an extended period, and that was really a lot of fun. So yeah. Oh, somebody said they paid $30 at Altamont Mall Pet Hospital. Ooh, all right. Okay.
And that's how much it's going to be at Harmony Vet Care. They specialize in military service dogs. It'll be $30. I just have to wait like 2 weeks to get it. So
Okay, so Amanda, my question to you is was that 30 because of they knew he was a service dog in training, or? There she is.
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, I mentioned it and he had his vest on and everything, but I don't think so.
Okay, now
They didn't, I would assume they would have told me that they were giving me a discount.
okay, are you an established patient there, like with a dog?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a low cost vet. That's where we get all of our like yearlies done for our other dog. It's super, super convenient. I called, I made an appointment 4 days out, took both of our dogs in, and it was no big deal. Took them 2 seconds.
And
I thought 30 was reasonable, but I don't know.
And it's
30 is about the cheapest I've seen. Yeah, that's what Harmony Vet is too. But my
And they
vet
wrote-
wanted like $50 or $60 plus, plus that first time established the patient that they wouldn't waive.
And
So
they
it's gonna
didn't-
be like 150 or more for both. And the
They
visit.
didn't ask me for any of that new patient information, but I brought all of his folder information just in case they had, any questions, whether or not he was already taken care of.
Okay. Okay. So Kate just said a reminder, just make sure when you're getting that done to forward that to New Horizons so they have it for their records.
Yep, I sent it to her.
Great. 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 So as you get them, if you hear of any other vets in your area, just put it on that Friends page. If you're not on the Friends page and you don't know what we're talking about, there is a Friends Who Like New Horizons. It's a Facebook page for our puppy raisers, for our recipients, for our prison pups, for our breeder pup raisers. It is not for your friends your neighbors. It's just for people who have or have had or are planning to have a New Horizons dog that they're raising. So if you're on Facebook and you want to join and you're not part of that, please either friend me or friend Etta, and then we can add you, or friend Kate. We want to make sure that you're on that page, because sometimes there's good information there. We put reminders on there. And that's just if you're on Facebook. Everything that goes on that page, well, not everything, but like training classes, reminders for training, all of that Kate sends out in an email for anybody who's not on Facebook. So yeah. Okay, so Kate says they're trying hard to buy the vaccines to have at New Horizons, and she'll update us if that happens. So I think we are done. So our next training is a Q&A. So if you have questions that you can wait until the Q&A, I believe the Q&A is, I didn't put it on my calendar. I think it's the 22nd.
It's the 22nd.
Okay, thank you. It's Thursday, the 22nd. And the Zoom trainings are always going to be at 7 o'clock. And then the last one, like I said before, will be on the 31st. The location is to be determined, so just wait for the location. So yeah. So thank you all. Thank you for your dedication to your dogs. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the office. If you just have a quick training question and you know my number, you know how to get a hold of me, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Otherwise, Kate will probably put you in touch with me anyway. So thanks, everybody. Keep working hard.
Thank you, Wendy.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.